Hi, this is Dave, and before we get to the show, I wanted to ask you a favor. One of our goals this year is to grow the show so that What Does Star Wars Mean to You reaches more listeners. And that's where we're asking you for help. And it's really easy. Wherever you listen to us, please hit that subscribe button. If you're liking the show, give us a 5-star rating and review on the platform you listen to us. We make a lot of fun of the algorithm and the smash that button thing, but it really does help us get noticed by new fans. And if you want to join in on the conversation, find us on social at Star Wars Mean to You. That's Star Wars Mean, the number 2 in the letter U. Now, let's chat some Star Wars.
Remember me, though she had to say goodbye. Remember me, she let Anakin fly.
Hello there. This is Dave, and I'm an original trilogy kid.
And this is Elora. I'm a prequel trilogy kid.
And welcome to What Does Star Wars Mean to You, the show where we talk to all kinds of fans of Star Wars to take the hate out of the debate and look at the franchise from a certain point of view, one fan at a time. Our guest today is a YouTuber, satirist, and musician. He has hundreds of parody and comedy videos, all using his trademark half-witted humor to skewer pop culture references. And one of those references is, of course, Star Wars. But he doesn't do it alone. He has the help from his fake monkey lizard buddy, Bub, who is a puppet. Please give a warm hello there to Cam Ray.
Hello there.
Ooh, hello there.
Tell us, Cam, are you ready to share with the world what does Star Wars mean to you?
I am half ready.
I'm ready.
Yeah. It's either the stars or the war. Can't be both.
Exactly. Here we go.
Well, let's get your Star Wars baseline. So we're going to do our 5 with the Force, starting out with what Star Wars movie is your go-to favorite?
Okay, so this one, it's kind of a twofer here. I love The Empire Strikes Back. Growing up in the early 80s as a kid, but Return of the Jedi, I kind of roped those two together as one because they kind of, just my memories, they flow together, but I think Empire is beautiful. It's a well-written story. I think it's probably my favorite. It's kind of got that darkness to it. Mm-hmm. But then Return of the Jedi is really fun. It has all the characters of my childhood and memories, and then my favorite part, when Darth Vader's helmet comes off, and there's a lot with that. And so, I don't know, I put them together, so we'll go with both of them. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, I get that. My favorite as a kid was Attack of the Clones because I was a prequel kid, but I really kind of blur it with Revenge of the Sith. So, I feel like they're kind of one and the same. Yeah.
Yep, I can see that for sure.
I think also people always have that kind of dual select where there's one that they just really admire and love, and then the other one that is just pure fun for them.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
We should probably change up that question. Be like, okay, which one's the artsy one the most, and then which one's the one that's you kicking your feet in the chair? Yeah,
exactly. Yep.
We need to roll a d6. Dave, do you have one?
2.
Okay, what is your favorite minor character?
My favorite minor character are you talking just movies or any Star Wars?
Any Star Wars.
At all?
Yeah, any Star Wars.
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, I just made it more difficult.
Yeah. You just opened it up
doing?
To a bazillion character.
Zip your yap, man. Let me think. I probably I was gonna say monkey lizard, but I just feel like, I know Bubs, he was here earlier, but I think he's in his room right now, but he'll get me if I don't say monkey lizard, but oh gosh,
it's like when you ask someone what their favorite song is, and suddenly it's like they've never heard music. Yeah.
Oh no, no, I can't do that. It's like anytime someone hears I'm a musician, I do that. They're like, "Oh, what's your favorite?" I said, "I don't know. There's so many songs, I don't know. I can't even think of what is a song. I don't even know what it means."
That's funny.
So, let me think. Okay, I don't know but Chopper's not really a minor character.
We can say favorite droid. Sure.
Yeah. I really like Chopper just because, his attitude.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like droid-wise, I've always loved R2. I really don't like C-3PO. Side note, sorry anybody who does.
That's okay. I won't take offense.
But Chopper, I like him because he's like if R2 had a few too many drinks, Chopper. So anyway, I just like Chopper's little attitude, but he still gets it done. So anyway.
We'll accept Chopper. I like it.
I really like the idea of R2D2, that Chopper is drunk R2D2.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
I could see R2 taking Chopper out for one too many and letting him be like the bumbling fool. I mean, like that actually works for both their personalities.
That is true.
Do you have a favorite line to quote?
A favorite line to quote? Probably the one I end up quoting the most. You know, I'm sure you guys do this too, but, you know, I find myself just quoting Star Wars and around people who aren't necessarily Star Wars fans. And they just kind of look at you, or they just don't even, then you feel kind of weird because you made this quote and you're expecting them to be like, you know, your buddies online who are like, yeah, good one, good use of, you know, and then they just kind of like, wow, that's an interesting phrase, you know, whatever. I'm trying now, of course, now I've lost the line, but it's usually Darth Vader. Oh gosh. So these will be the ums and ahs. You have to phase out.
No pressure.
Not the sister line. I always, if someone says they have a sister or something, I'm always like,
yes,
so
you have a twin sister. Obi-Wan was wise to hide her from me. Right? Yeah. It's one of my favorites.
Well, you're the head of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor, take her away. You know, I'll use that sometimes if someone does something. Usually it's Darth Vader lines, but you know, it's poorly done. So people don't know what line I'm quoting.
So I guess that might answer this next question, though. Can you do any impressions or impersonations?
Oh, man, not like on call, like dance monkey. If I'm like improving with someone or talking to someone and they're speaking in a voice or an accent, I can usually mimic it and then I can fall into it. But just like on my own, like end up sound like if I try to do a pirate just on my own, it sounds like a British mixed with a Southern person. You know, it's like, hey, matey, come here, come on the ship here. Or whatever, but try to come up with my own accents and voices. That way, it's like I can get away with like, well, I was actually trying to do this, but you know, it came off as my own thing.
Yeah, you had brought up Bub is in the other room. Should we do 5 with the Force with Bub near the end of the interview?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Sometimes his bladder he doesn't control it well, and
I get it.
We don't want that. So. We don't want to embarrass ourselves. Besides the films, what is your favorite go-to Star Wars content? TV show, book, game? It could be anything.
Oh gosh, I mean, I think I always go to the films. You know, that's probably my most favorite. But the last 5 years or so, I got into reading. You know, the Star Wars books. I really like the novels. So I enjoy reading. I find a lot of times I don't have as much time as I'd like to have. For the reading side of things. Right now, I'm loving the shows. I'm looking forward to the Acolyte a lot.
Yes.
Just because I have been reading the High Republic stuff, and so I'm kind of interested in that, how it ties together. But, you know, I think the movies are just a good, I can put those on anytime. I love the animated series, Clone Wars, Rebels.
Yeah.
Love that stuff.
Right on.
Now, you hinted at this a little bit earlier, talking about Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, but what was your first introduction to Star Wars, and can you walk us through that experience?
Yeah, I don't really remember since I was born in 79, so I was, when Jedi came out, I don't know what, 4 years old or so.
Yeah.
And so I just remember it always being on play. I know I had, all of the play sets from Return of the Jedi. My grandmother made me an Ewok costume one year. I was C-3PO another year. Had a big R2-D2 toy bin at my grandparents', to keep all the toys in.
Yeah.
So it's always been a part of my life. I know my mom really turned me on to all the behind the scenes stuff. So I was really interested in that early on. Like I would watch I just thought it was so cool. Like how, them blowing up the Death Star and all, they've got it like in the back of a pickup truck, in a parking lot. And so I was just really into special effects early on. I even got I don't know if you remember these, but it was like a Sony camcorder. It was only black and white, but it used cassette tapes.
Oh, cool.
To film instead of an actual. And so I would do like little special effects movies and stuff, even 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
So, it really I think my memory is just it really inspiring me early on, just all the creativity and everything. So I've always been into it, I guess, and then, it kind of went away a little bit middle school and high school because there wasn't really anything Star Wars, and I didn't like reading. I really didn't start reading till I was an adult for enjoyment, except the Chronicles of Narnia. I love that series. So, I was always putting on the VHSs, anytime.
Yeah.
And then when the special edition, whatever came out, I would always get the new, whatever, the latest Star Wars stuff was. And I remember even, older costume shops and all finding like a mask that was like, from like a C-3PO mask and stuff. And so, I don't know. I don't remember it ever going away. I wasn't walking around wearing Star Wars shirts and quoting lines,
Sure.
Would you say you're kind of a bigger like Star Wars is more involved with your life now than it was back then? Because I feel like I see a lot of people kind of like their fandom grows exponentially through the years.
Oh, definitely. And I think that probably is due to there not being new material. It's like, it kind of was the same thing with like, I was really into Superman, all the Christopher Reeve ones, and loved that. But of course, then they're not making more of them, but I still loved it. So it's kind of the same thing with Star Wars.
Yeah.
I never didn't like it, but there wasn't like and there wasn't the internet like it is now where you have that fandom and you can connect with, other people who are into it and all. So
Right.
I do remember when the prequels came out, I was in college, and it got sparked again because they had the hyperspace. I got a hyperspace
That's
account.
right.
So I was on there every day watching behind the scenes, them filming the prequels and all, and interacting with all of that. So as soon as it was available again,
Yeah.
I was right back in. It wasn't like I was just kind of like, oh, I remember that. Yeah. But yeah, I'm definitely a lot more into it now. Probably too much. Definitely too much.
What was your reaction to the prequels compared to the original trilogy, being an original trilogy kid?
Well, here's the thing. I loved the prequels.
Right on.
I didn't even realize there was some big issue with it until later on, like going online and hearing all this. I didn't even know like the stuff with Jake Lloyd and with Ahmed Best and all. I'm like,
Same.
Yeah.
I was like, are you serious? There are people that had an issue. I mean, me and my friends, we were like trying to find like, the pre-release copies of it to watch, on like we had like our virtual CDs and trying to find it before it got out in the theaters and all. And it was awesome. Like this Yoda fight scene, with Dooku was just like, awesome. We're just like throwing stuff and like, this is awesome. So it was never like oh, let's cheat. Even Jar Jar. It's like, okay, he's a little whatever, but it was,
When you think of the audience he was designed for, he makes sense.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he wasn't my favorite character or anything, but I'm like, he's like the C-3PO of the, the new thing or whatever. Or it's like, and it's, it's fine. And I was also, again, really into all the behind the scenes stuff. And so I thought it was really cool how they were making, all the moves with the motion capture and all of that.
Right.
So I was more into that and thought how cool that was.
Well, so on that note, you kind of touched on this earlier, how you would, take the old film camera or cassette tape cameras and like make your own kind of videos as a kid. So how did that translate into the parody content you do today? Like, when did that start? What was that inception?
Yes.
Or has it just always been?
5 or 6 times where my mom, I slipped out of her hands as a younger child. And some things happened up here. And
oh my gosh.
I was always in like the school plays, doing all the, always doing drama stuff and comedy. Like I've just always been into it. Grew up, watching all the old SNL stuff, and you can't do that on television. And of course, anything Jim Carrey.
Sure.
All of that, anything super goofy comedy, I was always really into that. So I think it's just kind of one of those natural things. Like in high school, I wanted to be a writer for SNL, but I didn't want to move to New York. So I'm like, well, that's kind of a requirement. So I'm like, so anyway, so I've just always been into that. And so I don't know, just, combining loving Star Wars, and I've always done and wanted to do stuff with comedy. So it's kind of a natural little marriage.
Would you say Star Wars was your kind of biggest influence on getting into that industry and that creative space? Or was there another franchise that kind of, I don't know, you could say was equivalent in that inspiration? I don't know. That was a very poorly worded question, but I think you understand where I'm getting at.
No, I grew up in church. I'm still real active. I play music at church, and I've always been at a church that does like video stuff, and like, so I would do like funny stuff for that, for like the messages or like the themes, And so that was kind of my outlet as far as like doing something like that. But I always wanted to kind of do something comedy wise, to a bigger audience, but I'm not like, oh, I want to make it big, that would be cool, but I'm not, not necessarily my goal. I've always wanted, to me, like family is most important as far as that's concerned. But so this kind of opened up a window, just the internet in general. But as far as I think, I mean, really, it's only been Star Wars as far as when I've kind of kicked it off, because I was listening to podcasts, and the only podcasts I really listened to were either like learning something like educational or Star Wars, so I started off with 1 or 2 Star Wars podcasts, and then you'd always hear them talk about Twitter, whatever. So I was like, oh, I'll get on there, and just kind of see what's going on, and never took any of the social, even like when Facebook came out, I never took any of that seriously. I'm going to have a real life, in real life relationships. Like, so I always kind of treated it a little bit goofy anyway, like MySpace, all that stuff. I would like, it was always a little bit of humor to it. Or like, I'm not going to put my personal stuff out there. Anyway, so then I jumped on, started becoming friends, and then I saw these other podcasters and creators, and then it just kind of went from there. Just was like, hey, I'm going to start interacting with these people, and maybe one day I'll maybe be on some podcast or have a podcast, and then it kind of led one thing to the next. And then unfortunately for you guys, here I am.
No.
I'm curious because I feel like Star Wars got you into the technical side of production, but your comedy is probably influenced by something else. I'm just curious, who influenced your comedy?
That is the question I was trying to get to and did a very poor job of. Thank you, Dave.
I get one right today.
Well, first of all, I watched a lot of Nick at Night. So I watched a lot of old sitcoms.
Yes.
I love Dick Van Dyke.
Great
Dick Van Dyke, Robin Williams, obviously Jim Carrey as he came along, Jerry Lewis. I used to watch all the old movies with, my parents and grandparents. And then SNL, started watching that. Ren and Stimpy came along, and kind of that whole bathroom humor thing. Like, I always go to Lucille Ball. I mean, she's just all that
classic,
like, slapstick. I don't know. I love doing stuff that I feel like my kids can watch or an adult can watch, and everybody can get something out of it and laugh. Not take stuff too seriously.
It's interesting because some of those, like Dick Van Dyke, Robin Williams, Jim Carrey, they're all kind of rubber-faced comedians, like big, almost stage-oriented comedians. That's really interesting. And I feel like your parody videos are kind of that you have this kind of, and I keep saying rubber-faced because I'm not exactly sure if there's a better, more technical term.
No, it's totally. I spent a lot of time in front of the mirror this morning. So,
Well, that's a difficult comedy to make look easy.
Yes.
It's very, and so kudos, because very few I think have been so successful at it, because it's a complicated thing to make believable, which is kind of an element you need to make something funny. Yeah,
it is, and I'm not talking about myself. I don't want to sound arrogant, like, oh yeah,
no,
you're right.
Oh no,
This does not come easy.
I was complimenting
Tell
you.
me more.
Yeah.
No, but like it really does. The reason I've always respected them is like, obviously everybody put, Jim Carrey, like over the top, everything. Ah! But honestly, then they're so surprised when he does something like Sunshine of the Eternal Spotless Mind. They're like, oh my gosh, he's such a good actor. It's like, do you realize like he's got to really understand the human like soul to really like pull that off? The reason you're laughing is because he's taking whatever these elements he's studied and then just magnifying them, making it larger than life. But I also would love to do like drama stuff, it's like, I love doing comedy, but I love like, I'd love to do more of the serious, stuff as well. I'd love to play a villain, like just like the most like just evil, cold-hearted villain, because I feel like I'm not that in real life. So it's kind of like, I'm like,
challenge.
I'd love to play that kind of role.
Would you ever do a Star Wars fan film?
Yeah, I would love to do that. Yeah. It's an undertaking. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people do that stuff really well. I would love to do something like that. I mean, the whole reason I did the whole Cam Ray semi-productions thing is because I don't have it's like got a life, other than, doing just that. I was like, and so I'm like, okay, I can't really put into it what I would love to put into it, even though I end up putting way too much into it. And you guys know with any kind of editing or, it's oh my gosh, like for 1 minute of video, it's like hours and hours of editing and writing, and to spend all this time writing the script before filming, making sure
we'll fix it in post. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it comes out, it's like what looks like a goofy 20-second, just free for all. It's like, oh man, I put way too much into this. So yeah, I would love to do a fan film, but I also know like, man, it would have to be a point where I've got monetization coming in and funding. And like, I'm like, okay, I can actually not work, on something else right now but yeah, I'd love to.
How did you get started in making Star Wars parody videos?
That's a good question. I have to go, where did it all begin?
Every saga has a beginning.
Yes. Except this one. Because he can't remember what he had for breakfast. I don't know, but I think it kind of, like I was saying, listening to podcasts, I don't want to like call out certain podcasts. I'm not trying to promote, but I think it kind of started with just interacting with them. And then, they're like, hey, someone sent in a video, blah, blah, blah. So then I would like record a silly video, and then there was a decent response to it. Yeah. And I'm like, wow. Man. And then I've always wanted to do comedy. And I'm like, I see, there's a lot of, talk shows or this and that, and there's comedy, but I didn't see a whole lot of like specific Star Wars comedy. It's like, I remember the Star Wars gangster rap from, when the pre, like, Yoda, I thought I'm a soldier. I thought soldier. Whatever. I don't know. Forget what it was, but and we loved that, I was like, oh, that's hilarious. And then it's like, and I've always wanted to, incorporate music and comedy and this and that. So I think the first thing I did or started working on was the Tragedy of Darth Plagueis funky soul version or whatever. And I would do some other little things. It had to be Luke instead of it had to be you. I think I kind of start with the musical stuff. I think just interacting, and then I'll see something, or I might have even started with Photoshops because I love doing graphic, messing up Photoshops and stuff. So kind of, doing that, and then it kind of all blends together.
It sounds like you use a lot of different tools to express your comedy. Like you said, the Photoshop, the music, live video or live to tape video, and that it's all like almost a pastiche of comedy that makes up your YouTube channel.
I'm seriously, you got to write like all my copy. You're like, you make me, my head's starting to expand beyond its limits right now. Sorry, keep talking about me. No, it's seriously, you make it sound way
doing it. How do you do that? How do you look good doing it? All of this all the time. What are there certain aspects of Star Wars that you find yourself leaning into, having fun with, or parodying? Is there like kind of themes you're finding that you make fun of, or does your comedy just come to you as like, oh, you know what? Remember Shmi to the Coco song would be really funny.
Yeah, and that one actually, my son came up with that. And I was like, I love the song "Remember Me." I was like, man, "Remember Me" would be awesome to do as a Star Wars thing. I gotta remember something. He's like, Shmi. I was like, oh my gosh, yes. So I can't even take credit for that. I just knew I love this. "Remember Me" is one of my favorite songs, from the Disney Pixar films and all. And I don't think it's one thing or the other. I think usually it's just scrolling through and I'll see something come up, or trying to hit, what's the latest thing that's being advertised, or, sometimes now I'll have people send me ideas or whatever. They're like, oh, you should do something on this. I appreciate that, because sometimes I appreciate it. Sometimes I don't, because I'm like, oh my gosh, because I feel like I've got ADHD, EFG, HIJK. And so when somebody gives me, I'm like, oh, now I've got to do that. But I'm already doing this. And then it's like, I feel like I have to do it. Then, it's kind of just a haphazard, like, oh, that's funny. If you saw I keep a notepad of all my ideas or current things. If you saw, it's just probably got 60 things written down that are either started or like, keep different. And just when it happens, it happens, I love Michael Scott from The Office. And I feel like that's one of my favorite characters to play. The guy who thinks he's funny and hilarious and is really a total idiot. And so that's usually what I end up playing, is a total idiot, because I love that kind of character, where it starts off, you're like, here I am at the blah, blah, blah. And then you're like, at the end, you're like, you crumble. You're like, okay, no, I'm not really there. I just wish I was. You're all awesome. I'm not, But, or that's a load of Star Wars. I'm just an idiot fan. Like, I'm complaining about something that I don't even know what I'm complaining about. Like
Yeah.
character names are wrong. I totally missed it. And that's just comes from like observations of how people are online. It's like, are you serious?
Yes.
Like, it's Star Wars. Just enjoy it. You're really like creating enemies over a fictional story. It's like, I don't know.
No, that's awesome. I mean, I think Dave and I both noticed in your content that like, yeah, you do sometimes kind of like to poke fun at the fandom, but in a way that's more like calling out that hypocrisy of it all.
It's always going to be like me playing the negative part, but not like straight up calling someone out. Like, but kind of, I might have, a certain post or something I saw recently in mind, but, usually it's just a general, like, come on, can't we all just get along kind of thing?
Yeah, and I think it's really rad that you're using your comedy and your platform to do just that, to kind of do what we're trying to do here, which is take that hate out. Just if you take the wind completely out of the sails, and hopefully you can find the right community online through that. But
completely. Yeah. The one thing I noticed with those though, and I haven't done as many, is like how many people think I'm for real.
Yeah.
And just, I don't mind. I have just as much fun in the comments, but then I'm like, well, if people, they're just seeing the post, because a lot of times they're really dry about it. Like I don't say, hello, the following video is a comedy video. It's not real. It's all pretend, which I was just the other day thinking, I think I'm going to come up with a disclaimer, warning, the following video is not for the half humored or something. And so it's like something, because it's like, oh my gosh, they're like, oh, it's not really that, it's this. And I realize, I think you're just going to get that because it's the internet.
Warriors.
Yeah. It's like, wow, it's like, it's comedy. But then I just continue the character and mess with, play along with them, keep playing the idiot.
No, I think that's the move for sure. Yeah.
I try to never actually get it, if it gets to a point where, a few times I've just said, okay, I was just playing along with you, but if you read the bio of my site, this is all comedy and parody. Like I actually agree with you. Yeah. I in fact like this character. The point of this was
when you have to explain the joke,
works.
You found the lowest common denominator. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I just let a lot of them slide, and then you don't know. They might. Everybody's different. It's like if they're coming at it from a very literal place, they're probably their personality's different, so I can't expect them to get it. So just move on.
I know I saw your Star Wars Celebration in Japan video, where it's essentially you're talking about, hey, I'm going to go.
Guess who's going, not me.
Yeah, guess who's going, not me.
Yeah,
which I thought was so funny. But at first I was like, is this real? Is he really? Oh no, it's a joke because he's like all this pomp and circumstance.
Right.
Guess who's going to Celebration? And it turns out it's not you, and you just end up breaking down and crying. It's just so interesting that at first I was taken in because I wasn't exactly sure what your point of view. It was one of the first videos I had seen of yours.
Gotcha.
And I really love how you kind of spotlight just Twitter in general, or social media, and poke fun of it. Are there things that you're a little nervous to put out there to comment on Twitter, or are you just like when you're taking the piss out of Twitter? Is there a moment where you're like, maybe this is a little too far, or I'm just going to go in? Yeah,
to some extent. Now, I don't go into things like, I might offend somebody, because you could spend all day, you're going to offend somebody no matter what. I put a lot of thought into not offending people, and yet I still run into that. But I do I try not to touch any kind of if I'm touching something that may be political or some social hot spot, first of all, whatever I'm doing, I run by multiple friends and people that, are going to be honest about it. And I always try to I'm never trying to make a point pro or anti something that's I've got this Cam Ray for president thing that I do every once in a while. But when I do it, it's completely I'm, again, a kind of an idiot, but it's I'm promoting, ridiculous things like my grammar force, which, is going to stop bad grammar usage. And, and I use the line from Star Wars where aggressive negotiations will only be used if necessary, and all this. But so it's always something ridiculous, or real working lightsabers for almost everybody, and then there's loopholes. But so if it's a topic like that, like I'll probably never, do any like major like hot topics. But as far as Star Wars stuff like that, or I'll make it seem like you think, I cannot believe he's tackling this subject. And then the punchline ends up being a totally slapstick, nothing to do with that,
Yes.
So I'm very aware of it.
Do you ever have the feeling that, oh my God, this is going to like cause too many ripples? And then you put it out there and it's just kind of a shrug. People are like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, maybe with like maybe that, or like a lot of times what is, you'll spend a lot of time on something, you think, oh, this might be really good or something, and then it's kind of like nobody really, watches it or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, it's like, oh well. But then I always just, you chalk it up to, I really got some good experience in some part of the editing process, or I really worked really hard on, this, whatever, because I'm trying to like get better with Premiere Pro and all that stuff and green screening and effects. And I'm always like studying that and trying to get better at it. So I just look at it and I'm, getting better at my craft. And
Absolutely. And I apologize. I feel like I'm harping on the subject, but the struggle within myself is very real in that I'll write out a post and just be like, oh, is this like too much? Is this too... I just, everything I write out, I feel like, okay, how could this get attacked? And that's just how I feel like what social media is just a big open space of zombies ready to attack you.
Yeah, I definitely think through it. I've gotten better about, it's like you could overthink all of it.
Yes.
But yeah, definitely. Because it's like, oh, who knows how it's going to be taken. But then I'm like, at the end of the day, only so many people are probably watching or following my stuff anyway. And anybody who doesn't like it or enjoy it or whatever, they've already muted or blocked or whatever. So like, I just kind of, I'll go for it. And I know my heart is I just love making people laugh. And I just love people. So I'm like, I feel like, if that doesn't come across, it can't be on me because I've done everything I can to, try to do my best in writing or posts or whatever, not to show something different. Unless they watch like the first 20 seconds of my video, which happens a lot, which usually the first half of it is like something totally different than the punchline. So it's like, oh, you missed the whole, you watch the viewer. It's like, oh, they made it this far and then they cut it off. It's like, oh man. So you saw the part that seemed for real. So great. But,
well, on that topic of comedy, though, and making people feel good, and I'm totally robbing Dave of his question here, but I'm really eager to hear your answer.
Do it.
There you go. See, you can do an impersonation.
Yeah. What do you think comedy's place is in Star Wars, from your point of view?
Like in the actual movies and shows and all, or just in general?
Like, what kind of humor do you? What kind of humor bumps you in Star Wars, and what kind of humor do you really like to see in Star Wars?
I mean, I always go back to the original trilogy. I mean, I think that's the perfect blend. Like aren't you short to be a stormtrooper? Or like you're. I mean, a lot of the lines are from Leia. I thought that was your foul stench. I mean, even the kind of the slightly goofy with Han, like, oh, we're and then shooting the thing. It's a little hokey, but I like that. I mean, maybe I think a few of the lines went a little too far with C-3PO in the prequels, like, oh, I'm beside myself, or whatever.
Oh,
like, oh my gosh.
That's right. Yeah.
But then I guess that, would be C-3PO anyway. But so I think, but then like some of the animated stuff can get really hokey. Like they'll have some of the really goofy kind of humor, but then it's some of the most powerful storytelling, too. So I think they manage it pretty well. The stuff that Lego does is my favorite kind of comedy. Very self-aware, but like very sarcastic or over the top. But they also know that they pull. I don't think that would work in actual like canon Star Wars. That would be too much.
Yeah, but it's great in Lego Star Wars.
Oh, it's great in Lego Star Wars.
I thought maybe like Hux got a little bit too over the top in the second two sequel films. Like I was really wanting him to go more like super, like his speech, The Force Awakens. I was like, oh yeah, that's great. And then he kind of became like the punchline by the end, but like, or the your mama joke, it was kind of borderline, but I didn't mind it either. So it's Star Wars. It's supposed to be fun.
Yeah, it is. It is supposed to be fun.
How did you come up with Bub? How did you make him? Yeah. What kind of was the process behind him and adding him to your videos?
Honestly, it just there's a guy online, Salacious Rum. He's basically a monkey lizard, and he does stuff. And so I was kind of interacting with him some, and then we went to Galaxy's Edge when it opened up. And I knew I wanted some sort of a character, and I saw the monkey lizards there. He had obviously the colored one, there's the one that's like Salacious Crumb, the tan one. And then I was like, oh, that'd be cool, kind of have a little character to interact with and all. And so I just got him, and then kind of interacted with him some like that, and kind of like they were, cousins or whatever. And then just kind of started kind of creating my own thing with him. Basically his voice, I kind of think of like a mix between Cartman from South Park and Roscoe P. Coltrane from Dukes of Hazzard. So he's basically a Southern Cartman Roscoe. So anyway, just voice wise, and I was just, just thought it'd be funny that we're kind of like sort of enemies. I kind of treat him like a baby, but he's kind of like a teenager in a way. He's kind of like, sometimes he's witty, but then sometimes he's not, or almost like a Dwight Michael Scott relationship.
Yes.
Where like, it's like sometimes you're on the same team, but then sometimes you're like, be quiet. What do you, that's ridiculous. But then who's the most ridiculous? I want to use him more kind of for different things, but just kind of as it comes up.
Yeah.
Nice. I like it.
He goes with us on vacations and stuff and all. My wife has come to grips with that Bub's going along. So we're going to the mountains in a few weeks. And she's like, I know Bub's coming. It's okay.
Yeah.
Does she secretly hate Bub?
I'm sure she secretly hates, I think she enjoys it. Yeah, she enjoys it now. She, obviously we'll make the jokes like, I'm a weirdo. I'm like, yeah, that's true. Yeah. I do have to kind of sneak in any new Star Wars items that I may, purchase or get a hold of or win or whatever. So, but no, it's all good. She's not super into Star Wars, but she's, she enjoys it and supports that I enjoy it. So.
Yeah.
It's cool to see someone's perspective who's not way into it. It kind of keeps you grounded because you can start, you start scrolling around on Twitter or whatever it's called now. And, you start thinking like, oh, everybody, you're like, everybody's with me on this. And you're like, and then you get into the real world. Oh, okay. Not so much. I am the weirdo.
There's nothing like learning what a social media bubble is until you kind of like step out into the real world and you're like, oh, it's like walking out of a movie theater in the middle of the day when you think it's supposed to be night outside.
That's a great analogy. Yeah. Yeah. But I think it's good though, because it's in both ways. You can, if you start getting sucked in, I try to take breaks from it. I haven't been doing as, there's periods where I got really into it. Then I'm like, I'm going to take some time off. But I think because you can get into a state of depression, because you're like, everything's terrible, or it's like, oh, I got to keep posting stuff to keep everybody, or whatever. And then you're like, oh my gosh, like it doesn't really matter,
So what are the top 3 elements that make Star Wars to you?
Well, I think it's fun. It's got to be fun. I know it's pretty generic, but if it's a Star Wars, something to do with Star Wars, it needs to be fun. Like Star Trek is boring. Sorry. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Not really. It bores me. Let's put it that way.
That's fair.
I went to the theater. I saw the films that came out when I grew up, and I enjoyed those. But like the TV show, I tried a few times to watch it. I'm like, I think it's a little too preachy or something. It's like for me. So anyway, away from Star Trek, because now I've angered probably half of your fans, but
no, I don't think so.
But I think it needs to be fun. I think it needs to not be too like heavy-handed. Like I understand it's like, there are always going to be themes in it that, you're addressing maybe something current events that you're addressing, but you're addressing it in a fun way, not a heavy-handed, like, this is the message we're trying to give you. Like, come on. Okay. There can be a message, but all right. So fun. I think hope would be the second one. So that is kind of the message. I think just hope for whatever, whether it's for people or a people group or a planet, a society, the environment, whatever the issue is, hope that,
Yeah.
So I think hope is a big one. And then I think family would be 3. Cause I mean, it's just, I think it has to echo found family or, blood family,
Sure.
They've got the bloodline stuff and the midichlorians and all that stuff. But then they've also got just the found family. I mean, there's a lot of that. I mean, I think probably every piece of Star Wars material has that. There's someone who's kind of an outcast or a rogue, and they're brought into a family group.
Yeah, that's a great 3, and it's a solid 3 that I kind of hear recurring quite a bit. The fun, the family, and the hope. It really seems to be the angles on the triangle that is Star Wars.
Yeah.
And triangles have 3 sides. In Star Wars is a trilogy. Therefore, Star Wars is triangles. I don't want to record
at 9 a.m., Dave. No kidding.
You just blew my mind.
I don't want to tell you what your next video should be, but I think I hinted enough.
Are you hinting at the Illuminati? Is that what's going on?
Oh, yeah. Well, I didn't even think about that, but yes, you're right.
So, Nicolas Cage has got to, find some sort of a document. And...
You can do impressions. They may not be Star Wars, but they're there.
Yeah.
So, our final question. We've talked about your journey with Star Wars, all the very funny, great comedy parody videos you do, your buddy Bub, seeing
Buddy's a
return. Pretty strong term. Your associate Bub. Can you, after our discussion, kind of sum up and say what does Star Wars mean to you?
Sure, do that. Well, I think really, just from growing up with it being kind of part of every little aspect of my life, I really think Star Wars, it sparks the imagination. I think it kind of paves a path for your imagination. I think that's why so many people like to explore things in the fandom, fan fiction, or just participate in these discussions, because it sparks our imagination. Maybe like any good story should do, but it does it in a fun way that's approachable. I think similar to comedy, which is why I like comedy. You can approach topics without, giving a TED talk on it, or a serious preaching at someone over something. But you can touch on issues or just the human state, but in a fun, approachable way. Like I said, with hope, bringing hope. It's something I can always go to. I can, you can put it on, and you can have the worst day, and you can put on some Star Wars and just kind of, you get lost in it, but yet it also kind of, it's not just a mindless, mind-numbing thing either. It's you can think deep if you want, but if you don't want to, you can just go on a fun ride with the Ewoks, and take down some stormtroopers, so I think kind of goes along with the three words. It, brings some hope, and it brings kind of some light into a dark day, and kind of sparks creativity and imagination.
That's great.
Wow. That was one of the best answers we've had to that question.
Yes.
I know. Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No.
I don't know.
Cam, where can people find you?
Well, Saturdays after 10 o'clock, if you take a left at the... No, I'm just... It's ridiculous. Okay. So, back on track. Thanks for asking. You can find me at Camray Semi Productions on YouTube.com, or on Twitter, X, whatever it's called, at Camray, Instagram at Camray, TikTok at Camray Semi Productions, and Facebook at Camray Semi Productions.
Nicely done.
Awesome. Wow. I need to get our social handles down that way.
There you go.
That's Camray Semi Productions. Half-witted humor from near. Oh, I can't even say it. From near to far.
There you go.
And all those links will be in the podcast notes as well. So if anyone wants to dig down and just click on through, you can do so. Camray, thank you so much. I still feel like your name's like Cher. I want to say the full Camray, not just Cam.
Oh, yeah.
Cam, thank you for joining us. This was a pleasure.
No, thank you guys. This was a lot of fun. I love talking Star Wars, and it's a great show. It's very thorough. I love it.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Do you want to go for it, Dave?
Sure. May the force be with you, Cam.
And with you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were doing it. Sorry. And with you.
There it is.
Sorry.
Hi, this is Dave, and before we get to the show, I wanted to ask you a favor. One of our goals this year is to grow the show so that What Does Star Wars Mean to You reaches more listeners. And that's where we're asking you for help. And it's really easy. Wherever you listen to us, please hit that subscribe button. If you're liking the show, give us a 5-star rating and review on the platform you listen to us. We make a lot of fun of the algorithm and the smash that button thing, but it really does help us get noticed by new fans. And if you want to join in on the conversation, find us on social at Star Wars Mean to You. That's Star Wars Mean, the number 2 in the letter U. Now, let's chat some Star Wars.